at 140. Ghana Entrepreneurship Agency. Can you not get NPSSM? What's my friend about 500? The patrol. And if I'm 500 now, so much more. You're going to be my fear, but I think that's one point 500 and for the town. Because what about
Citizens and colleague activists committed to the promise of our collective freedom. I address you today, exactly a year to the day that the full scale of our government's brutality was unleashed, not only on me, but also on you, and on our collective desire to believe in the moral good of our republic and this democracy. As you are aware, Friday, 11th February 2021, at around 4 p.m., I stepped off the Air Portugal flight TP1527 from Lisbon, Portugal, at the Cotoca International Airport into this country. Even before I took that flight, I was aware that the regime was seeking to arrest me at first opportunity. In fact, the day before my flight, I had information that officials from the Ghana Embassy in London had been sent scurrying to find my residential address at Cambridge University. Student leaders in the Ghanaian community at Cambridge had been contacted to help the government fish me out. Even when I found this out, I was undeterred in my resolve to stand up to the bullies. I packed my bag and resolved that even if coming to Ghana meant death, at least I would die on the soil of my fathers, and with the dreams of the generation written on my tombstone. While transiting at the Lisbon airport in Portugal, I stayed on the phone for nearly an hour strategizing with my lawyers and putting in place measures to protect the privacy of my communications and the safety of my family and close associates. And so, when I stepped off that plane, I did so fully aware of what awaited me, or at least so I thought. At the very least, I understood that running away would mean surrendering our superior moral claim to persons who are driven by their criminality and whose stock in trade is laundering a politics of despair. It was important for me to demonstrate to those who, through their greed and appetite for quick profit and illicit wealth, have set our republic back, that this country belongs to us too. I wanted our immoral leadership to understand that the belief in justice and the audacity of freedom that won our fathers' independence continues to live to this day, even if in small doses, in echoes and in little murmurs. I wanted them to understand the tenacity that lies within young people who have embraced Fix the Country and made it their own. My presence in Ghana, despite the threats and the warnings that I will be arrested and possibly killed, was the beginning of the triumph of our revolution. We showed up for our country and we won the psychological battle over a corrupt leadership that has lost its way and now plunders this country in revenge. When I arrived at Cotoca, I was arrested by heavily armed individuals wearing balaclavas and clad with everything but the humanity or respect for individual liberty and the rule of law. I was ushered into a room where for the best part of 5 hours, I was beaten, spat on, denigrated and dehumanized. Unknown to the authorities, there had been 2 lawyers waiting for me at the airport and another waiting at the airport police station, where it was naturally expected that I would be taken to if I was arrested at the airport. And so for 7 hours, my lawyers waited at the airport without any idea of what was happening to me. After a full night of searching for me, my lawyers were compelled to release a statement informing the public that I had arrived that evening at Cotoca International Airport and had since disappeared. I was subsequently blindfolded and driven out of Accra in search for jails with the roughest conditions. I ended up at the Sherman police cells, where I shared a jail cell designed for 4 people with nearly 30 to 40 others. Over 35 days, I came to terms with the true brutality of our democracy and the inhumanities of those who man it. In jail, as they have since admitted themselves, they planted a man in that cell with a knife. Yet, while they meant evil against me, our clean hearts meant that their desire to punish me and make me a scapegoat for all those that dared to believe in the promise of a new Ghana was transformed into a conduit for good, but also a beacon of our inspiration for many others who seek the light and the vision of freedom. Jail confirmed for me the humanity of those who have been left behind and are considered as undesirables. For when I was at the risk of death in those prison cells, it was those complete strangers who formed a protective circle around me and kept watch over me throughout the night to make sure that the person they had planted in that cell did not have access to me. Colleagues, a year has passed since that arrest. In these 12 months, my passport has been seized from me. All attempts have been made to disrupt my professional and academic activities. I have been under continuous government surveillance, and my mobile communications and transactions are continuously monitored by a regime that knows only the language of intimidation and the abuse of power. In those 12 months, not a shred or even a single credible evidence has been adduced to support the trumped-up charge of treason felony that the regime continues to pursue against me. For 12 months, a combination of prosecutorial misconduct, judicial arrogance and complicity, and the purposeful abuse of power have contributed to ensure that an otherwise dead on arrival criminal case has been kept alive, designed to purposefully obstruct my equal claim to citizenship. That this farce has been allowed to continue is both evidence of the ingenuity of criminal misgovernance in this country and the decay of our constitutional democracy. But these 12 months have also awakened others to the dangers of silent complicity to injustice. Many more people today approach our cause with greater belief and expectations of freedom. Time has revealed the shallowness of those who have impoverished us by promising to make everything free except freedom itself. Time has emphasized the urgency of reclaiming our citizenship to oppose those whose legitimacy and claim to power relies on fear, intimidation, and amassing public wealth. But it is important we do not gloss over those 12 months. It is important that we sit in the harsh realities of misgovernance in order that we keep them as permanent reminders, as mementos of this era of greed. It is necessary that when we tell ourselves and our children yet to come that never again, that we fully acknowledge the weight of the injustice we have let fester, that we acknowledge our complicity in the cancer that is now consuming our democracy, along with our capacity to imagine a better and certain future of growth and prosperity. Colleagues, we are at the precipice of monumental political, economic, and social collapse. Politically, we are led by priests who have lost their faith but have refused to relinquish the cassock so that we can begin our healing process. There are no new or fresh ideas presented, and there's no direction out of the abyss of despair. Our politics has a single purpose: to impoverish us. And when we speak up, they draw on their control of violence to knock us back down. Our democracy has lost its luster. Our journalists are now more afraid than ever. They seek refuge in self-censoring, pretending not to notice when the president deploys national security resources to kidnap citizens, to settle scores with his ex-lover, and to retrieve pictures of his modesty. The vast majority of our media resources are owned by the political class and their cronies. Radio spectrums and broadcasting rights are auctioned off to party officials, their financiers and associated cronies. Our voices are bought and retailed through media spaces that are devoted to not making their parties and favorite politicians look bad. But no democracy stands without a credible media. We live now in a country where you can literally count honest journalists and honest media houses on your fingertips. All around me, activists are threatened with death and violence routinely. And yet all this we have normalized. People continue to ask me daily and innocently, why do you want to die for Ghana? But why must the only payback for our advocacy and our desire for a better democracy be death? Why must we stare at death just because we want the better for our society and for ourselves? Any society that promises death in exchange for freedom is not a society worth dying for. Colleagues, every day, we ordinary citizens grow louder in our demands for constitutional reforms. And yet every day they grow more bolder in ignoring our plea for reform and for changing course. Our electoral dictatorship is underpinned by a constitutional document that guarantees for our president and his entourage obscene powers and unaccountability. The utility of our constitution, its design and the assumptions that underpin it have not only failed, but are now also used to stifle dissent, to muzzle accountability, and to freeze imagination purposefully. The 1992 Constitution is a package deal of bad and untested ideas. Time has shown us its limits, as well as its inability to ground our desire for true freedom and economic justice. We have for ourselves a constitution that continues to crumble in the face of religious fundamentalism, a constitution that loses its balance when called upon to protect fundamental human rights. When our communities are dispossessed for the benefit of foreign capital interest, when our minds are sold off to foreigners and cronies, and while our communities starve, our constitution looks the other way. Even in the face of the gravest environmental distraction of any generation, we are unable to look to our constitution for direction in confronting the abuse of power more squarely. The roots of justice cannot gain ground on the back of a constitution that crystallizes injustice. But the majority of our people starve, our resources are handed over to a select group of super citizens in order to maintain a criminal consensus among the political elite. Those under the Article 71 regime would rather impoverish all of us, just so that their ex gratia will be paid on time. Because of the 1992 Constitution, only 5% of our consolidated national resources are guaranteed for local development and for the local assemblies. The remaining 95% is kept in Accra and misused to high heavens. Where is the justice in that? We are the only democracy which has a parliament that was intentionally designed to be weak and ineffective. Yet useless and happy, they are grateful to use parliament as a money-making Ponzi scheme. On top of the Article 71 gluttony that the Constitution guarantees for them, our parliament will sell its soul to the highest bidder. Cutting deals with the executive and looking the other way is the order of the day. Socially, we are today a society without a moral compact. Right is wrong and wrong is celebrated. We are a society with corrupted values. Our clergy and religious voices are more comfortable sitting on the laps of power than sacking the traders and profiteers who have taken over the house of God. 1 out of every 3 scandals has a religious leader entangled in the mix. From multiple names and mothers to fraudulent procurement deals associated with senseless cathedrals of doom. Several of our civil society voices have been co-opted by the pursuit for money, that today they are perpetually auditioning to catch the president's eye for appointments and hand-me-downs. And yet in all this, our society is poorer now than it was at 31st December 1981. More people are unemployed today than they were then. For every 1 million cedis that was lost to corruption in 1981, 100 million more is lost today. If power was reckless then, today power is abusive, arrogant, and vindictive. Poverty has consumed our people and suffering is on the rise. Our land system is a mess. To acquire land in this country is to buy for yourself hypertension and deceit. Chiefs, who are supposed to be custodians of custom and justice, are today at the front line of land gangs and criminality. Money and greed has closed off access to land, so the poor person cannot look to land and agriculture as a way out of poverty and disenfranchisement. We have lost our way and our path. Truly, this cannot continue. Enough is enough. What more can I say about our economy that the average man has not felt in his pocket? Our lives have been wrecked by politics that does not admit fault nor show remorse. Today, we are indebted to the point of immorality and of no return. And as immoral as we are, they made sure to make profit from the ruins of our lives. Millions have been made by the president and his cousin from every cent they borrowed. Millions were fleeced from us at the same Kotoka airport by the president and his criminal network during the height of the COVID pandemic. And yet, right-thinking members of our society looked away. Even a global health pandemic, where we stood to lose our lives and limb, did not slow them in their greed and gluttony. Today, the pensions of the old and fragile, of civil servants, and of people who through their own industry, despite the best efforts of our own government to impoverish them, is now at stake. And after riding off into the sunset on luxury private jets and mocking us from the temples built with corrupt money, after taking away our youth and our aspirations, now they want to lay their evil hands on retirement funds. All around us, we see signs of decay and clouds of despair forming. And as our old people, old men and women, line the pavements of the finance ministry to reclaim what is left of their bonds, we must ourselves genuinely be prepared to shake off the bonds of our cowardice, bonds that have made us complicit in our own impoverishment. We must question our own motives and audit our commitment to freedom for all. For true activism cannot be blind nor selfish. The path forward must not be led by personal interest alone. For if we show up for our pensioners, we must show up for teachers and nurses alike. Doctors must fight for carpenters and captains for police officers. I am here reminded of an old Sanskrit proverb from the 14th century that says, "Nothing in nature lives for itself. The rivers do not drink their own water. The trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves." Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other, no matter how difficult it is. Life is good when you're happy, but much better when others are happy because of you. And so, folks, I say this with sadness, but with absolute honesty. Nothing will stop this generation of greed and decay unless we wake up together, fight together. And this means that we must also be prepared to forgive those who cheered them on and the others that remained silent when they first came for Fix the Country. We must march together with those who are only new to the light. And we must appeal to our comrades of old, those who fell off the wagon out of despair and disillusion. This is a fight we win only if we stand together. Last month in Tamale, ordinary citizens showed the way. They lit the way anew with the vision of Face the Country, and from the depth of their lungs, they screamed the purpose of a new beginning, a new constitution for a new generation. We must kindle that purpose together. We must beam together with the desire for renewal, and we must not be shy in our resolve to seek the blessings of true freedom and justice. As I said to you last year, I truly believe that our path is lighted by our trust that justice has always prevailed over evil, and the belief that we shall win this commitment to build a new Ghana which is fairer, a new Ghana where leadership serves rather than impoverishes or abuses its citizens. Every fiber in my being assures me that that new Ghana is possible, and that we as a people, standing together, trusting together, that when tomorrow comes, we will no longer be slaves to the moral decay of those who hold us in perpetual hostage of poverty. We cannot give up. Friends, the time has come to redefine the face and the values of our Ghanaian democracy. Our democracy. A democracy where young people, as much as the old, have a place in its improvement. Where our voices for reform and justice are no longer viewed as treasonous by those who are scared of their own shadows. If you're listening to me today and believe that the time has come to organize better and to redeem our democracy, then I urge you to join us. You cannot continue to sit on the sidelines anymore. Not now. Not now that you understand what is at stake. We are in a fight for the very soul of our republic. This is not a fight we can afford to lose. We must win it, not for our sake, but for tomorrow's sake. We owe a duty to secure our children from the bonds of injustice and indignity that we suffer today. So reach out to us. Send us a message on WhatsApp. Message us at +233 303 959 661. Follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at ghfixthecountry. Email us at secretariat@ghfixthecountry.org. We can do this together. So thank you for trusting me and trusting us. God bless you and God bless our homeland Ghana.